Can these shears be saved? This is another one of those shears sent to me by a sharpener, and I'm going to see if I can save it for him. And the problem is this one won't even close. And this is a Jaguar shear, which have been in the factory, been certified by Jaguar, but we never did one of these in the factory, so we're going to discover this together. I'm Bonnie Megowan, company's Bonika Shears. If you are new to this channel, please follow us and subscribe. Our information is primarily for sharpeners and primarily for people that sharpen for hair salons, but we have a lot of people that follow us that are sharpen other things, or maybe they are hairstylists or barbers and they want to know more about their shears. So just go in the description below and you're going to see a lot of links and things that may help you with some other questions. And if you've ever come across a problem like this, please let us know. Put a comment in there. So we're going to take a look at these and see what's going on. So let's take a look at these shears. First of all, if you ever send me a pair of shears or call me about some on the phone, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what are they? These say Versatile JG31, looks like, or an 81. I can't quite tell. But they're Jaguars, and they're made in Germany. And he's tried to sharpen and they're not closing. Now the first thing I'm noticing is the ride line. That ride line should not have been put on here. Do you see how that is going all the way across? And on this side, we're running into the same issue. And because it was catching, he was working that ride line more. Which is, that's not a bad, that's not necessarily a bad conclusion, but on these shears, if you notice, there's not as much of a hollow to them. Let me compare them to another pair of shears. Let's find one here. So, do you see the deep hollow here? And you see how that light kind of goes at an angle? This is one you would work this kind of ride line on, because these have a very shallow hollow, almost none. It does have some. You don't want to do this kind of a ride line. Just basically just sort of smooth it out inside. This is going to cause a real issue. So I'm hoping all I'll have to do is ramp these, and I'll be showing you that in a minute. But let's take a look at what kind of edge he's got on it. Is the angle consistent? And it appears to be. It's sharp. The angle is consistent here, but it's very smooth and polished. I'm hoping just a ramping will cause this to close. So let's get with the ramping. I happen to have a 2000 grit stone. He said that he used a 6000 grit stone. This is a 2000 grit. It's pretty smooth for 2000 grit. We might need to use something a little bit more aggressive, but I'm going to just try this first. What I'm doing is I'm laying this on the stone without taking it apart. Now this is a no-no for most of the times when you're doing a ride line. And if I were to measure this with a protractor, it would be about a 15-degree angle. One of the factories that makes our shears, I asked them one time about this ramping, and that's what they said. They did a 15-degree angle. Okay, I've got a little metal. I can see the red's gone. Little metal removed from the tips. Let's see if this will cut now. Well, let's see if this will close. Pretty close. See, it's closing now where it didn't before. I think I want to ramp it just a little bit more. And then the trick will be, does it cut? Now these chunkers that have level teeth like this will always feel rougher than the ones that have the angled teeth. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's some various other chunkers or texturizers or whatever you want to call them. And you see how these teeth, they're angled as it passes one tooth, it touches the next tooth. Same way with this one. As this passes one tooth, as it passes that one tooth, it already touches the next one. This is one that I bought just to show. Do you see how each of the teeth are angled like a stair step type of a thing? So that once it passes one tooth, it is already touching the next tooth. On this one, because those are not angled like that, each one is straight, as it passes one tooth, you see it has not touched that tooth yet. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. You see, as it leaves this tooth and it goes to the next tooth, there's a little bit of a gap before it hits that tooth. What that means, those shears really kind of, and I'm going to hold this here, maybe you can see what I'm talking about. Do you see how they kind of cross over? If they're aligned right. You see, they're not straight on each other. So that when they close, they're touching it at one place all the way down. That's why any of these that have these straight teeth like this are going to feel unsmooth or feel choppy. So let's cut with them and see. Now the two ways I test them, one is perm paper. It's these, see these end wraps? You can get them at a beauty supply. I think I bought this box when I started in the business 30 years ago, and I don't use very many. There's two ways to test them. One is I'm going to cut here. And if it cuts here, it almost always will cut hair. Now that last tooth is kind of, yeah, it cuts. So let's see how it cuts hair. These little scraps of hair are really helpful. And I had someone today, Tim, thank you for the suggestion. And you can always put comments below if you have suggestions. He said when I cut hair, I need to have something white behind me. So I've done that. I'm holding these shears with my pinky here. So I'm actually putting a little bit of side pressure, a little bit of crab grip, just as if I would be cutting. And I'm going to close on here. Close all the way down and pull straight out, and it shouldn't pull, and it didn't. I'm going to do that with a tip, close all the way down, pulling straight out, and it didn't pull. So I'm not going to do any sharpening. I'm not going to change anything in here. In the future, if you get one of these, you're not going to work that rod line. You don't want a rod line looking like that. You might be able to maybe just a little bit of a stone or just lightly, or typically I'll use maybe my arc hone or something and just kind of smooth off that, or even the nail buffer. If it wasn't for these type of teeth, I might just sharpen it, pull up the burr, and cut the burr off. But you definitely don't want to overwork that rod line. And then here you see how we did the ramping when it's catching. And you know, you think, well, gee, that rod line's here, why is it cutting it all? Well, if you didn't have that little bit of ramping, those teeth would catch, and you're going to have that problem. So I hope that's helpful to you. I'm not going to do any, as I said, I'm not going to do any other sharpening to it. Everything looks fine. And these, you know, I'll just wipe the red Sharpie off and clean them up and put some more oil on them, and they're ready to go. They're adjusted correctly. Always check the adjustment. So that was an easy fix.